I was 23 years old when my father told me that love was a luxury I couldn't afford. That's insane, right? A girl who grew up with a private jet on speed dial, who had a walk-in closet bigger than most people's apartments, and my own dad looked me in the eye and said love wasn't something I could have. You're probably thinking, must be nice being rich and complaining about your life. I get it. I really do. But stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to tell you isn't about money. It's about what money can't buy and what it almost cost me. This is my story, and it's true. The girl who had everything. My name doesn't matter. What matters is my father's name, because in my world, that's all anyone ever cared about. He built a business empire from nothing. Real estate, hotels, a shipping company. By the time I was born, we were already at the top. I never knew what it felt like to want something and not get it. Sounds like a dream, doesn't it? Here's the thing nobody tells you about growing up like that. You start to feel like a product. Not a person, a product. My whole life was planned out before I could even talk. Which school? Which university? Which appropriate boys I was allowed to be friends with. Even which charity events I'd smile at cameras for. I was lonely. Deeply, quietly lonely. And nobody believed me when I said that, because how could a girl with everything be lonely? But you can be surrounded by staff, by drivers, by assistants, by people who say yes ma'am to everything you say, and still feel completely invisible. I want you to remember that feeling because it's going to matter later. The man behind the wheel. It was a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were the days I hated most. Back-to-back board meetings I didn't even need to attend. Just sit and nod so my father could show me off as the future of the company. My usual driver had a family emergency, so a new one showed up. Quiet, respectful, didn't say a word unless I spoke first. His name was Daniel. I didn't think anything of it at first. Honestly, I barely looked at him. That's how normal it was for me to ignore the people who worked for us. I'm not proud of that. But it's the truth, and I promised you I'd be honest. Then one day, I was sitting in the back seat, staring out the window, and I just broke. Quietly. Tears just started falling, and I didn't even know why. He didn't turn around. He didn't ask questions. He just said, "You don't have to explain anything to me. But if you want to talk, I'm listening. And if you don't, that's okay too." Nobody had ever said that to me before. Every person in my life wanted something from me. My family's approval, connections, opportunities. But this man, who probably made in a month what I spent on a single handbag, wasn't asking for anything. That's when I started noticing him. Really noticing him. Falling slowly. You might be wondering how this happened, how a girl like me ended up falling for her driver. It wasn't sudden. It wasn't a movie moment with slow motion and music playing.
It was small things.
It was him remembering that I liked my coffee a certain way after I mentioned it just once. It was him staying quiet on the phone with me at midnight when I couldn't sleep, not saying much, just being there. It was the fact that he asked about my day and actually waited for the answer. I started finding reasons to sit in the front seat instead of the back. I started dressing a little nicer for rides that used to just be commutes. I started smiling more. My assistant noticed before I did. She pulled me aside one day and said, "You need to be careful. People are starting to talk." I laughed it off. I said we were just friends. I was lying to myself, and I knew it. One night, after a work event that ran late, it was just the two of us in the car, the city lights blurring past the window. I asked him, straight up, "Do you feel this too? Or is it just me?" He didn't answer right away. And when he finally did, his voice was shaking. He said, "Every single day. But I know my place. And I know yours." That sentence broke my heart before anything even started. When my father found out, I wish I could tell you we were careful. We tried to be. But love has a way of showing on your face even when you're trying to hide it. My father noticed the way I smiled at my phone. He noticed I started asking for the same driver every single time. And one evening, he had someone follow us. I'll never forget coming home that night. My father was standing in the living room, arms crossed, and I just knew, that everything was about to change. He didn't yell. That was almost worse. He spoke in this calm, cold voice and said, You will never see that man again. I tried to explain. I told him Daniel was kind, that he made me happier than anyone in my acceptable circle ever had. My father cut me off and said the words I mentioned at the start of this video. Love is a luxury you can't afford. Not with our name. Not with our money. People like us don't get to choose who we love. We choose who benefits us. I remember standing there, feeling like the walls of that beautiful house were closing in on me. The next morning, Daniel was gone.
Fired. No severance.
No explanation given to him, just told never to come near our family again. I called his phone. Disconnected. I went to the address I had for him. He'd moved out. My father had erased him from my life like he was a mistake in a business deal. The darkest months. I want to be real with you here because this is the part most people don't talk about. I fell into a depression I didn't recognize at first. I stopped eating properly. I stopped going out. I would lie in my room, this massive room with a view that people would kill for, and I felt like I was suffocating. Money couldn't fix it. Therapy appointments my father arranged couldn't fix it, because how do you explain heartbreak to someone who's paid to agree with everything you say? I started resenting everything I used to think I was lucky to have. The cars, the clothes, the parties. None of it meant anything without someone who actually saw me. Not my name, not my father's company, just me. I never thought I'd say this, but there were nights I genuinely wished I was born into an ordinary family. A family where love wasn't a business decision. My mother, who rarely stood up to my father, tried to comfort me once. She said, "This is just how our world works, sweetheart. You'll learn to accept it." And that terrified me more than anything, the idea that I'd grow numb to it. That I'd become like them. I refused to let that happen. The turning point. 3 months later, everything changed because of something so small it almost didn't happen. I was at a charity gala, one of those events I used to hate, handing out food packages as part of our family's public image work. And there, on the other side of the table, volunteering with a small community organization, was Daniel. He looked different, thinner, tired, but his eyes were the same. We just stared at each other for what felt like forever. Then he walked over and said quietly, "I never stopped thinking about you, but I needed you to know I wasn't after anything. So I stayed away." That's when it hit me. This man had lost his job, his reputation risked by association with my family, and instead of coming after me for money or revenge or even closure, he chose to protect me by disappearing. That's not the kind of man I was told to be afraid of. That's exactly the kind of man I needed in my life. Right there, in front of donors and cameras and my father's business associates, I made a decision. I was done living a life someone else had scripted for me. Standing up. I went home that night, and I did something I had never done before in my entire life. I stood in front of my father, and I said no. I told him I understood the business. I understood the reputation, the image, the family name. But I told him none of that was worth living a life without love, without honesty, without feeling like an actual human being instead of an asset. He threatened to cut me off. Said I'd lose everything. The inheritance, the company's shares, the house. You might expect me to tell you I hesitated. I didn't. I said, "Then cut me off, because I'd rather be poor and real than rich and empty." I want you to sit with that for a second, because I know how it sounds coming from someone who's never actually struggled with money. But losing access to all of it, actually facing the real possibility of starting over with nothing, that was the first time in my life I felt like I was making a choice that was truly mine. Starting over. My father did exactly what he threatened. Access to accounts cut off. Company involvement removed. Even some of my so-called friends disappeared the moment the money did. I moved into a small apartment, the kind of place I used to drive past without a second glance. I got a job, an actual job, answering phones for a small nonprofit, the same kind of place Daniel had been volunteering at. It was hard. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it wasn't. I didn't know how to grocery shop on a budget. I didn't know how to do laundry. I burned my first 3 attempts at cooking dinner. But every single night, Daniel was there. Not because he had to be, because he wanted to be. We built something real out of nothing.
No assistants.
No staff.
No cameras.
Just two people figuring life out together. For the first time, I understood what my father meant when he said love was a luxury, except he had it backwards. Love isn't a luxury only the rich deserve. Love is a luxury you can only truly have when you strip everything else away and see what's left standing. What I learned. I'm not going to sit here and tell you money doesn't matter because that would be a lie, and I promised you honesty. Money makes life easier. It solves real, practical problems. But money can't manufacture connection. It can't fake genuine care. It can't buy someone who stays when there's absolutely nothing in it for them. I spent 23 years surrounded by people who wanted something from me. It took losing everything to find one person who wanted nothing except me. If you're watching this and you're in a situation where someone is telling you who you're allowed to love based on status, background, or money, I need you to hear this. That's not protection. That's control disguised as love. Real love doesn't check your bank account first. Where I am now, it's been 2 years since that night I said no to my father. Things have softened, slowly. My mother reaches out sometimes, quietly, without my father knowing. There's a small hope that one day, he'll come around too. I'm not holding my breath, but I've made peace with that. Daniel and I got married last spring. It was small. Nothing like the wedding my family would have thrown. No 500-person guest list, no imported flowers, no headlines. Just the people who actually loved us, standing in a backyard, meaning every word we said to each other. And honestly, it was the richest I have ever felt in my entire life. So here's what I want to leave you with. If you're out there struggling right now, struggling with family who doesn't understand you, struggling with choosing between comfort and truth, struggling because the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally are putting conditions on it, I see you. I've been there. In a completely different way than most people, but I've been there. You are allowed to choose a life that's real, even if it's harder. Especially if it's harder. If this story meant something to you, if any part of it made you feel understood, do me a favor. Leave a comment and tell me, would you have made the same choice I did? Would you walk away from everything for something real? And if you want more real stories like this one, make sure you subscribe, because there are so many more journeys I want to share with you. Thank you for listening to my story. I'll see you in the next one.